everybody. As people start to come in, hello everyone. My name is Maisy Timbrell, and I am a part of the customer success team here at Rex, and I will be telling you all about contact management. I want to give everyone like a few seconds to come in before we really jump in. Just a bit of a reminder, there is a Q&A box that you can pop in questions throughout this session. There's also a chat, but definitely use the Q&A box so our team in the background can answer your questions as we're going through this. Amazing. Now, while we also give everyone a few extra seconds to start, what I'll be going through today is I will be going through creating and editing. I'll be showing you how to link contacts to properties and listings, communication history and notes, and using tags, mailing lists, and reminders. So, with all ado, I think we go ahead and get started. I'm sure you can all see my screen. I can see some comments saying, "Are you back?" Yeah, for anyone, I've actually been away for a year. I'm back now. Anyway. All right, contacts. Creating and editing contacts. So let's start from scratch, shall we? Because you can create contacts by all means. You can go onto Rex and add a contact. That's all good and well. However, let's talk about different ways that contacts can be created in Rex. For example, leads. When someone fills out the inquiry form on realestate.com or domain, it can actually create that contact for you. So, let's just remember that it's not just manual adding contact through this button here. It is through leads. So if they're completely new to your database, a contact record will be created. It's the same when you are putting people in an open home on Pocket. If someone has come up to you and they're completely new and you're putting their details into Pocket, which is the mobile application version of Rex, it will create a contact record for you. And you know what? Disclaimer as well, when it comes to leads and open home attendees, based of course on your default settings, it will merge duplicates. So if I have inquired on my colleague's listing and another colleague's listing, it will recognize, oh, that's Maisy, just merge Maisy's same email address, same phone number. Let's keep this all relevant to the one contact record. But outside of that, let's look at how we, manually add someone in. I would love to also show you what happens when you do add someone that's already in your database, like myself. So this is how you could add in a contact manually. Maisy Timbrell, maisy.timbrell@rexsoftware.com.au, save contact, and it will actually come up saying, oh, you are already here. So I can add anyway or don't add contact because it's recognizing you've got duplicates in your account. Let's go from completely of scratch though. I'm going to go, because I've just recently seen the movie, I'm going to do Jacob Elordi and his email address, which of course is jacobalordi at gmail.com. And his phone number, if anybody wants to save it, is 0400 123 456. Save contact. There we go. So here's my new contact record. Now, it's looking pretty bare. So with the information that I've got, I can add all this nice information. We've got email address and phone number, of course. If you've got the place that they live, this is the time to enter it in. Because this could be, you door knocking or someone that's come through an open home. Maybe they came late and you didn't check them as an attendee and you've got to do it manually. Any kind of information that we have, let's add it in now. For example, we know that Jacob Elordi has a wife or a sibling or parents. Like maybe the referral was, we know Jacob's parents. Any contact that is related to a contact, let's make sure that we add it into here on the far right-hand side, related contact. So for example, we've got Margot Robbie, I think is already in my system here. And let's go coworker. Add contact there. So now that we've got a related contact, it's just good to keep this panel on the right-hand side accurate and up to date because when we filter, later down the track, it's going to help find, oh, show me all the co-workers of Jacob Elordi, or, show me everyone. It's just really handy for your future self. Same goes for related properties. If I know where Jacob Elordi lives, don't just put it in this location here. Whilst it's good to put in this location here, it's really best practice to put it in related properties up here. So we know Jacob Elordi lives, I'm just going to pop in 100 because I know that there's probably some properties in my account already. 100 Chermside Street. You'll notice as well as I type that, it says if you don't have the property record, of course, it's going to prompt you to create it then and there. And Jacob Elordi is this property's owner. Save. Reason why this is also good is because you can then, this is, 10 steps ahead into a completely different circumstance, is if you have sold a listing, and the suburb for this one is Hendra. If you have sold a listing in Hendra, you can then filter through your contacts, show me all the owners in Hendra, so I can send an email out to say we've recently sold in your area. So you can see why this is really important to have as soon as you know this information. So that is, we're really just kind of dabbling in adding a contact. I'm sure there's heaps more that we can add here, but let's continue on with editing contacts, maybe in more of a mass action. And what could the example be here? Tags. The conversation that Jacob Elordi and I had, I bumped into him at the street. Let's make it that. Bumped into him at the street and I want to, record what we spoke about. So I'm going to add a note against Jacob Elordi's contact record. And I'm going to say he lives at 100 Chermside, of course. And you know what? If I've already done that, it's in this nice drop down, so I don't have to type it every time. How good's that? And I can say, Jacob is looking to sell in the next 6 months. All right, add a reminder. I can add a reminder to myself to give it automates to a phone call. I can add a reminder to myself to call him. Let's go, give him a week. And because I'm really busy, and I've got a whole team that works with me. When I bumped into Jacob on the street, I actually said, hey, Jacob, I'm going to get my colleague, let's choose. I'm going to get my colleague Bridget to give you a call next week if I don't hear from you. And she's going to take you through, what selling looks like in the next 6 months. Perfect. I've given Bridget a reminder. This note is going to also update last contacted date. That's also really good for reporting and save. Now let's see what that looks like. That note not only saves on the contact record, but it also saves on the property as well. So you don't have to flick back and forth for this kind of information. Now, with that in mind, so let's go through the steps that I've just done. I've recorded what our conversation was about. I have updated last contacted date. That's just automatically happened. And I've created a reminder for Bridget to call. Now I've got a bit of information because Jacob's looking to sell in the next 6 months. Just say I jump the gun and mark him as a seller. How can I do that? How can we show that Jacob is looking to sell or, because he's not really a seller yet, but he's going to be? Let's talk about tags. Tags, the way that I like to describe them, is the best way to organize your data. Because Rex has all these beautiful defaults, by all means. Look at them, stunning. But but everyone's different, right? And we want to really refine how we are organizing our data. And this is, I could make a tag called looking to sell or looking to sell six plus, because, that makes sense in my team. So this drop down here is system tags, which I strongly recommend you to set up because this is a nice drop down. Reason why is if I say looking to sell, just like this, and click enter, and I go to my team meeting and I say, hey, everybody, make sure you put in looking to sell whenever people are looking to sell. They might go looking to sell. And that creates two completely different lists of people. So by all means, system tags is a great one. I'm going to go looking to sell though. Let's just keep on track here because I want to be able to filter for my contacts later on, which is through contacts, all contacts. I'll show you that one in a minute and go, show me everyone that's tagged with looking to sell that I have not been in contact with in the last 2 months. So we can start to see how all these different steps in Rex kind of marry up and make life a lot easier for myself. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between tags and mailing lists? Because, and that's a great question, because people sometimes go, well, I've got a tag looking to sell and a mailing list called looking to sell because mailing lists are married up to newsletters, which is your big email blasts, your big monthly updates, quarterly, or whatever your agency does. And I get it. Sometimes maybe it feels like double handling. Difference is tags, organizing your database, organizing your database. Mailing lists is more about it's connected to newsletters. So you can have multiple tags like Jacob Elordi, referral. What else was my tag examples here? Um, Landlord, solicitor, third party supply, internal referral. I could just do, and lots of agencies where they have a lot of agents in them also work off initials, where it's like MT looking to sell, just so we can really keep them nice and clean. Whereas main lists, it would just be sellers, buyers looking to sell, because that's going to be connected to then sending a newsletter out. Send a newsletter out to everyone underneath the mailing list of looking to sell. I understand even just hearing myself say that out loud, how those two things can get a little bit confused. But I guess to make it really simple for yourself, tag, organizing my database, mailing list, what I want that person to receive when it comes to newsletters. If you're sitting there scratching your head going, newsletters? I don't know what you're talking about. Newsletters is our feature that lets you send out to hundreds, thousands of contacts without it going to people's junk mails. Like a nice big monthly update. Alrighty, so that's main list. Let's add one. How about we do that? I'm going to subscribe Jacob Elordi to weekly update. Yes, please. Perfect. Now, yes, I set a reminder for Bridget to give him a call. But I'm also going to set myself another reminder about, and it's going to be an email, and I'm going to assign it to it defaults to record owner. I am the record owner. You can kind of see it, this way, a little bit down here. Oh, you can't see me pointing there. Record owner is me. It defaults to record owner. If you aren't the record owner or if you are doing this on behalf of someone else, always make sure that you kind of double check the assignee. And always just make sure it's myself anyway. And for tomorrow, I am going to make sure that I send him a bit of an update on current property, how much it's currently worth. I might do a bit of deep dive around places that have sold around him and so on. So I'm just going to save that there, add a nice reminder. If you have situations like the situation I was in with Jacob Elordi, I bumped into him and I'm doing all this nice admin work on his contact record, but you treat everyone in that kind of circumstance the same, you can actually create a track that has the same reminders every single time. And tracks we will absolutely deep dive into once, on another Rex Essentials session. So I don't feel like I'm just going to glaze over it and never going to hear about it again. But tracks in a nutshell is like, my morning routine is always the same. I make the bed, I brush my teeth, and I eat breakfast. If your routine with how you deal with certain contacts, especially when you're adding them into the system or if they're already in your system, adding a track that's like, I'm going to email them in 2 days, remind me to call them in 5 days, remind my colleague to print out whatever in 6 days, you can just add a track next time. So we've had a look at creating contacts, how different contacts are created. We've had a look at editing this one. So, for example, we've had a look at editing a contact. Oh, we're on the contact record, but let's have a look at when we're on a list of contacts. For I can filter for the contacts and go, show me everyone with the tag buyer. Let's just say, apply filter. There we go. That's a lot of them. I think it's all of them. If I wanted to edit them in a mass action, I could tick here, mass action, and add tag. And I want to add looking to sell. It's not really, or I'm going to add internal referral to everyone. That's how you could do it in a mass action. While that loads, we've also had a look at linking contacts to properties and vice versa. You can also link contacts to listings as well. And you're probably wondering, well, what's really the difference? Is because property records are the house on the street, and the listing records is, a house can be sold so many times over its lifespan that you could do it's been leased, it's been sold, it's been sold, it's been leased, and different people buy and rent it out, right? So that's the difference of linking contacts to properties and linking contacts to listings. The great thing about Rex is it also automates. So I put Jacob Elordi as that owner on 100 Chermside Street. Thank you very much for doing that, Rex. Let's go back to Jacob. I put him as the owner here. If I was to list 100 Chermside Street, if I was to list this one, it actually asked me, would you like to keep all those details the same? Which obviously we always keep ticked because it automates Jacob Elordi to be owner to the vendor. We've had a look at adding a note. Communication history is another great one to just glaze over. I'll show you one that's got a little bit more meat on it, which is my own contact record. You can see when you send out emails from Rex, you can actually see when they've opened it and how many times they have opened it. So that's always a good one to have in your back pocket. And by all means, we really recommend whenever you're doing phone calls to add phone call notes here. So you can then later report on how people like to know how many phone calls they've done. And you can also filter through your phone calls of, show me all the phone call notes that I said the word voicemail in the last week so I can actually just go redo them again. And then we've had a look at tags, mailing lists, and reminders. So I hope that session of contacts, whilst vague because Rex is massive, it was helpful. I'm going to have a look at some of our Q&A questions. If you haven't already, if you're listening along and wondering, I would love to ask some questions, how can I? There's a Q&A box on your Zoom screen that you can write through your questions. And of course, people have been answering them in the background. I'm going to read one out and we're going to answer them. So if I have a contact detail on Sarah, but email only, when she comes to an open home and enters her full details, including phone number through Pocket, it seems original contact details overwrite the new information and I can't see the new details. Is there any settings that I can keep new details instead? That's a great question. And that might be a bit of back and forth with, how you would want that to look because it could be a settings situation where if it's creating a new contact or if it's not creating a new contact, it's because Rex is merging your contacts for you. And then if it is creating a new one, it's because you do have settings that say if I'm entering someone in and I only want to own them because I'm in like a closed office environment, then it will create a duplicate for you. Someone also asked, I can't see mass actions. Is this only for admin? Great question. Yes and no. Mass actions is a privilege. It definitely depends on the type of privilege set that you're on. So if you can't see it, you will have to ask your super admins to either allow you to do that or action what you want actioned yourself. Have you got a list of do nots for tags and mailing lists? Favorite question. Do not make your tags and mailing lists. How can I say this without saying this? I want to say don't make your tags and mailing lists too vague. Because what I see lots of people do, and I wonder if you all do this like I do on my own just personal computer, when you create a category like buyer, then it's the next year. Oh, buyers 2026. Oh, buyers 2026, second half of the year. So, like you kind of want to figure out, maybe brainstorm this before you enter in system tags, which I think someone did ask, so I'm absolutely happy to show you where system tags are created. Try to think of what is timeless and what makes the most sense to you. Because I'm also very aware that on Rex, our terminology might be different to yours. So sellers, vendors, like whatever makes the most sense to you, but let's try to keep our tags clean, but not too vague. Because then you'll just find yourself creating tags for the same thing in different date ranges. Do nots for mailing lists. Do nots for mailing lists. I think I want to say the same thing. Mailing lists make more sense because mailing lists are more linked to, completely linked to newsletters. So you would want to do monthly update. I think years probably make the most sense there. Monthly update 2025, past owners, past sellers. Um, what's a no-no? Yeah, you know what? Like that's a great question. I've got to think of more ones not to do. I always have a ready answer for what to do. And I'll show you where system tags are created as well as mailing lists. They live in the same area. Settings down the bottom left-hand corner and custom values tags and mailing lists, which is a third one from the top. And on the left-hand side, it's the second one, system tags. These are some tags that I will give credit to other agencies. This I've completely, copied from different agencies across clients of mine. So contact tags, buyer, developer, internal referral, investor, landlord, solicitor, third party supplier. I know I just said don't try to keep them vague, but you also don't want to make them too specific because I can actually filter. Think about it like this. I can actually filter for the buyers that I've added into the system after the date of the 1st of Jan 2025, for example, last year. So you can filter out the old ones. So keep that in mind. Property tags, because we're talking about contacts, right? But while we're here, we may as well talk about it. Property tags, these are another one that I have. These are another set that I've taken from agencies that I found are the most popular. So 1 mil, 2 mil, appraised, north side, south side, zone one, zone two, zone three. And that is because everyone's areas are different. I don't know. I'm in Brisbane and we always refer to north side and south side. So making that a tag because how else would I filter for that through my properties? That's such a Brisbane niche thing. Tags, tags. Alrighty, let's have a look at some other questions. Hopefully that is answering a fair few of them. Um, let's go with where do you find templates, for example, your property current valuation is? We have templates in the settings in tracks, merge, and brochures. If you would like to have a look at some of our templates that we create as defaults, I always like to actually recommend them, our templates as more of a starting point, and you can duplicate those templates and make them sound a little bit more like, what I would say to myself, make it sound a little bit more like Maisy's Realty instead of just a very generic template. So, but by all means, you can also create your templates from scratch. Absolutely. Okie dokie. Let's have a look through. It's awesome because a lot of the questions in the Q&A box are being answered. So I might be a little bit strapped for questions for myself to answer. Let me have another think about contacts, um, anything that is relevant in terms of contacts. I know that there is a session. Spoiler, there is a session coming up about Pocket. The next session next week is actually about property records. Definitely come in for that one because it's going to be a nice tie-in of what we've spoken about today with contact records. But there is going to be a session on Pocket and it would be really good if you are interested more, if you are someone who lives on their phone and you are out of the office a lot. So what I'm showing you might not be super relevant because you're actually adding in contacts into Pocket more. Join that session because then we can kind of talk about how you can organize your contacts, how you can filter through your contacts there on Pocket and handy tips and tricks on making calls and then having it prompt you to make a note. I think how do we prospect off the contact space? Find contacts on Smith Street in Smithville. Great question. Let's have a look. Let's go contacts, all contacts. Now, I absolutely live in advanced. Oh, where can I point? I absolutely live here. It's my favorite place to go when I want to filter because I've got full control of what I'm filtering for. But that's because I've lived here for a very long time. You know what you can do to save time is you can actually use the AI filter here. You can say, I mean, you said find contacts on Smith Street in Smithville. I don't have Smithville in my area. But I'm actually gonna go with because it's relevant owners in Hendra and let's watch show me owners in Hendra. I'm gonna ask very nicely. Show me owners in Hendra. Filter and Jacob Elordi should be in our list. The good thing, I don't know if you saw, I might have been a little bit too quick there, but the good thing about this filter here is it also gives you examples, just in case you see me use this AI filter and go, I can't think of anything else to use it for. When you do click it, it always shows you nice examples to get you started. For example, owners that I haven't contacted in 90 days. How good's that? I can do that without having to go all in advanced. Now, I have been shown all of my owners in Hendra. Jacob Elordi is the last one there. Perfect. So it has worked. Then what I could do is I could tick all, I could add a tag to them, I could add them to a mailing list. Maybe I've got a mailing list called Hendra, and I can, or if there are, how many have I got here? I've got about 20 here. So if you have 50 contacts or under in a list like this, you can definitely do an ad hoc email here using a template that you've got or just, on the fly. But if it is over 50, definitely more so go for the add to mailing list because newsletters are way better for those bulk email merges. Now, I think let's have another look at contacts looking to rent in. If you are wondering when you kind of click these AI filters, especially buyers looking for two beds around 800K. How is that like what's that related to? How's that related to anything? It's related to match profiles, which again, I mean, we've only got a few more minutes left, so we're not going to deep dive into match profiles too much, but that is what it can be based off. Same thing. Use the AI filter. Make some nice sentences. Look, I'll give you a full disclaimer of like sometimes the AI doesn't really understand what you're saying because you might make it a bit too vague. So really try to make your statement that you ask the AI filter feature as clear as what a 3-year-old could understand. Don't do too many, don't make it either too long or too short because they'll just go, what? Not too sure about that. Thanks for that. Would that work only if owner is not linked to the property record? What if Mr. and Miss Smith owns property, but the property doesn't exist in Rex? Wow, that's a great question. Because how do we know? How do we know that uh, Mr. Smithy Smith owns it without it actually being in Rex? If only the contact is linked. Well, we would have to talk about like again, this is something that's going to be explored a little bit later on linking data that can be imported through third parties to owners. Just if we don't have that information, we can import data from third parties and then have, link the information up that we do know. And I mean, I think it probably also like the question, as much as I'm probably not answering it nicely, is always going to link back to just make sure that you are putting, once you do know, we only know what we know, right? The database only knows what we know, and the database only knows what you put in. Let's just always make sure that we're putting it in related properties for those nice filters that I just did. You can, of course, still put it in this location section here, but it's just a text box. So I'd have to get really creative of find people who own in Hendra, but where the address contains the word Hendra. So hopefully you can pick up what I'm putting down in best practices. Always pop it here on the right-hand side. Amazing. That's 11:30. I hope you've enjoyed your session on contacts. And next session is properties and how to structure your property records. But enjoy your Thursday. I hope we've answered all your questions. I do apologize if we didn't get to your question. You're always more than welcome to reach out to our team, and we'll see you next time. And great to see anyone that I haven't seen in over a year. All right, thank you, everybody.